What is spiritual integrity and why do you absolutely need it? Well, you need spiritual integrity for a couple reasons, a couple big reasons if you ever want to increase in the kingdom of God. We all know what integrity is. Integrity is the ability for you to do what is right even when nobody is watching. How can you do what is right even when nobody's watching? Because most of us, if we're honest, do the right thing because we know that somebody's watching and we're going to get something out of it. But spiritual integrity is the ability for you to do what is right even when nobody is watching, knowing that somebody's always watching from the spirit realm. There's two spirit realms that are always watching you, and that is the kingdom of darkness, and that is the third heaven, or God. The first reason you increase your spiritual integrity is to increase your spiritual ranking or your spiritual credibility. Now, credibility is the quality for you to be trusted. Now, why would you want to be trusted in the spirit realm? Well, one, when your sphere of influence is increased or enlarged, that means you can affect more people, affect more change for the kingdom of God. And our purpose here is to increase or grow the kingdom of God. You don't believe that you can be trusted in the spirit realm? Watch this. James 2:23 says that Abraham believed God, God counted it as righteousness, and God called him his friend. And what does Jesus say in John 15:14? That when we obey his commands, he looks at us as friends. When God calls you a friend, trust me, he trusts you. Let me give you a good example of spiritual integrity. So you're sleeping. God wakes you up at 2 a.m. He wants you to pray. He's been waking you up every night at 2 a.m. And you know God really wants you to pray. About what? Who knows? But instead of getting on your knees or laying on your back and talking to God, what do? You go back to sleep and you ignored the call. When you ignore the call, you're weakening your spiritual credibility. As your spiritual integrity grows, you become a closer friend of God. Your relationship with him deepens and he gives you greater access to power. Now, why would you want more power? Because you have increased effectiveness in the kingdom of God. What do you use that power for? Casting out demons, healing the sick, raising the dead, sharing the gospel. All of the things that Jesus told us to do when he commissioned us to go into the world. The second reason why you'd want to increase your spiritual integrity is because you have a reward coming. The spirit realm is always watching you from the third heaven and the kingdom of darkness. You're always being watched. How you respond to testing and temptation from the spirit realm dictates how your spiritual integrity grows or shrinks. 2 Corinthians 10 says that all believers will stand before the judgment seat of Christ to receive what was done in the body in this life, either for good or bad. Psalm 56:8 says that God keeps account of all of your stirrings, keeps your tears in his bottle, and records everything of your sorrows, of your strife, of the tough times in life in his books. Hebrews 12:1 says that we're so surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. Revelation 3:1 says, I know your works. Jesus says he knows your works. He's watching you. You have a reputation of being alive, but you're actually dead. What an indictment to someone who thinks they're doing the right thing in the body, but spiritually, they have no integrity. Before the great white throne judgment in Revelation 20, all of the dead are standing before God, and they're judged. The books are opened, and all of the things that were recorded in those books, good, bad, everything that you did in your life is recorded in those books, and the book of life is also opened, and everybody was judged according to their own works. And unless your name is written in the book of life, no matter how good your life was, you go straight into eternal fire. Somebody at work today mentioned to me that they have two friends that are getting ready to get married. And they asked me, these guys are the nicest guys. They help old ladies cross the street. They do great things in their community. They're philanthropists. They give money back to the community, to the world. Are these guys actually going to go to hell because they... And I said, listen close. Nobody's going to heaven because they do good deeds. Because as far as God is concerned, all of our works are like filthy rags. Even when you have a life filled with good works, because we're born into this fallen flesh, everything you do, good and bad, is written into that book. But if it's not the book of life that your name is recorded in, you will not gain entrance into the kingdom of heaven. People go to hell, not because they're bad people, but because they refuse or reject Jesus Christ. So, what's the best way to increase your spiritual integrity? Well, spiritual integrity really is another way to say you're walking in holiness. And the most direct way to do that is fasting. No! Fasting is a great way to humble yourself before God. Humble yourself before God. Now, God prunes all of us. Why does he prune us? Why does someone who owns a bunch of apple trees or owns a bunch of peach trees, why do we prune our trees? Why? Because we want them to produce more fruit. So everybody's going to get pruned. One way to prune yourself is to fast. So fasting is like self-pruning, and it's humbling yourself before God. So fasting increases your humility. Nobody can please God if they're proud. Only the humble, the meek shall inherit the earth. The teachable shall inherit the earth. Fasting increases humility, and humility increases your awareness of God. When your awareness of God is increased, that means that in your thought life, you realize God knows your thoughts. That means that in the things you do, when nobody's watching, God is watching what I do and recording everything. That means that when I have a pattern of sin in my life that I'm aware of, that I haven't repented of in my life, I want to get rid of that and take it before the throne. I want to nail it to the cross daily. Awareness of God's presence increases the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord, or reverence for his presence, lets us know and reminds us that God is always watching. Why? Because he loves us. He loves us. If you're a parent, do you watch your children? Come on. Fear of the Lord is reverence for God. And because he loves us, because we walk in faithfulness, because we walk in holiness, he gives us the keys to the kingdom. Because when you're trusted, or your spiritual integrity has grown to the point to where you can say that you're a friend of God, God gives you access to power, because he knows once he gives you that power, your number one focus is to increase the kingdom. Then you're casting out demons. Then you're healing the sick and raising the dead. Then you're sharing the gospel, probably the most important thing of all. Increase your spiritual integrity. Let's get on it.